Yeah, right. Now this is our fifth session on quantification and costing. Uh, Sadly, we are taking a long time to passing through this quantification and costing. So far, what we did, we complete the method of measurement. Now we are in the measurement works only. But what we did, how we see about preliminaries, preambles, and so many things in between we studied, which was not in the list here. But anyway, I'm just quickly running through today about this measurement work. I need to guide you all guys about the POMI and NRM, how they deal with the measurement. Then after that, we will go back to pricing, how we price. For example, if you take a project, you get a BOQ, then how you are going to price that bill of quantities. I will give example that what has to be considered in the rates and all stuff like that. Then that is a rate build up, and there is a strategy has to be used in pricing the preliminaries. That is totally different strategy. So that I will also guide you that how we pricing the preliminaries. Then the schedule of rate, if there is a schedule of rate, how to price the schedule of rate, and day work schedule. That's all about the pricing. We may see that in the next session. And about the valuation. That is another key part of the quantity surveyor, key role of the quantity surveyor. Valuation, which is we do a payment valuation, variation and claims and prime cost and provisional sum, because we spend much time here because this is the part of the core role of the quantity surveyor. So under the measurement, I have choose a few items apart from this list actually. I mean, I didn't go along with the list. In the building construction, or normally we came across few items, which is excavation. And I just saw the last time about piling. So we will do the comparison between POMI and SESAM. So we do the important items like excavation, piling, concrete block work, waterproofing, metal work, finishing, MEP works. So we will just quickly run through it, how we will read the standard method of measurement, how we need to read the standard method of measurement. Then we'll see how the BOQ description to be built to prepare a bill of quantities. So let me share my screen. Okay, this is not the one. Okay, now you see two different documents are here. One is NRM 2, and the other one is POMI. So can you make sure that you can see these two documents, NRM2 and POMI, because I share the screen. Yeah, okay. So first, I need to understand from you guys. I mean, I already informed. I told you all what about the NRM 1, 2, 3. So I think if anyone is remember why we are using NRM 1, 2, 3, what is the purpose of this NRM 1, 2, 3? Can anybody tell me that? Tell us, tell to the panel here that what is NRM 1, what is NRM 2, what is NRM 3? Because you may get confused why this is number 2. Anybody remember that? What is the purpose of this NRM 1, NRM 2, NRM 3? Now I just open NRM 2. By itself, you may understand what is the purpose of it. Okay. According to RIBA plan of work. Okay. What is RIBA plan of work? Royal Institute of building architect, I guess. You after this class, you just go, and it is very important things. I think I already showed you also in the previous class. RIBA plan of work. Okay. The building construction, they divided in categories. Building construction, cycle of the building construction, they divided in various categories. So here they made some comparison. You can see three different entities, which is one is RIBA, other one is RICS, other one is OGC, gateway. Okay, these three different entities. They extensively involving in a construction project. They extensively involving in the construction industries to deliver the standards, norms, and all things stuff. So according to RIBA, the building, they divided the building construction phases, not the construction. Building for example, a development in the different phases. One, they said, one is preparation phase. The number one is here. This is a preparation phase, and the design phase, pre-construction phase, construction phase, use. Okay. So NRM1 is used during, I can say, this phase, NRM1. Okay. Phase 1 and 2, preparation phase and the design phase, mostly is used in the design phase. Also, we can say slightly on this here, because pre-construction, when it's come to the pre-construction, it's already project is going to be start. So that time we are not going to do anything. So I can say 1, 2, 3 is used by NRM1. And number 4, construction is going to be used now NRM2. If there is any measurement works in phase number 1, 2, 3, NRM1 should have to be used. And if it is the NRM2 will be used in phase number 4, is purely a construction. In use, NRM3 will be used. So NRM3 is basically used for maintenance purpose. If there is a building maintenance, so the maintenance team also has to have a standard method of measurement understanding. So they are using for the maintenance purpose. So today we will see NRM2, new rules of measurement. They itself is mentioned detailed measurement for a building works. So it's not about the civil works or infrastructure. This is for building works. I think I don't need to give you an explanation about POMI. So what you don't know, I will just explain it, because last time we have seen about the POMI here, how to read and understand the POMI. So I'm just giving you an idea about NRM2 now. So NRM2, they said RICS is issued by Royal Institute of Chartered Surveys, new rules of measurements. NRM2 detailed measurement. This is the first edition. Maybe there is few editions. I don't know. This you can download it itself from RICS website. You just go and NRM2 or NRM1 and NRM2, just a Google search and you will find it. Okay. So there is no copyright issues. They open to everybody to read and understand, because they need to populate the professions to easily to get this and adhere to the standard. Okay, this is the content of the NRM2. So they talk about the part 1, which is kind of introduction part to the NRM, and also part 2 is the measurement rules. What are the rules has to be considered in the measurement, and part 3 is purely a table for rules of measurement, whatever the item you're going to measure. So today we will spend on here, because there only they talk about each item: demolition, alteration, excavation, ground filings. something like that. So then they put some appendix at the end, this kind of templates, some guidance, something like that. So this is the content of NRM. First is introduction part, and what is a measurement and why we need measurement, use of NRM, what is the purpose of NRM, how the NRM tool is structured. So this is given under the part one. Part two is kind of rules. When you want to use NRM2, what you have to consider, what you have to take a precaution, what you need to be taken into consider. So that is in a part two. Then part three about the measurement. So that I think is clear. Then these all are don't need to spend the time. That it is like a message acknowledgement and the introduction. This introduction to the NRM2. Then they give a guidance here. What is NRM1? What is NRM2? And what is NRM3? So you can download it and check. Here they mention order of cost estimate and cost planning for a capital building works. Order of cost mean is a cost planning. That is one of our subject. We'll add up later. And NRM2, the one we are going to look at it here now, is NRM2 is a detailed measurement. And NRM3 is the order of cost estimate and cost planning for a maintenance work. So maintenance, when it's come, it's once the project is completed, then it goes to the maintenance. So that will be a maintenance part in NRM3. Then these are the part one starting here that they said measure the context. This is what I showed you, that the project is categorized in different phases and three different entities, how they called it actually. You guys must have to have some understanding about this. It's very important thing. What is the phase of the building? RIBA plan of work, it's changed every, I mean, I see it I used to see 2013 version during my preparation for RICS and start of my journey and during my MSc as well. Now I see 2015, 16, 20, 21, 22. Every year they change the version, but that's not much changes on it. But slightly they are modifying here and there. What is important here? Sorry. What is important here? This is the RIBA plan of work. This is how they categorize the building phases. So one is a preparation, appraisal, and design brief. So which one of the client has an idea to build a building. So this is appraisal phase. Then the design brief is mean he has an idea, he will come and talk to somebody about his brief about the design. This is a design brief. Then the concept design is starting, and the design development is starting after the concept design, and they are doing a development design. Then they do a technical design. They do in more details and putting numbers and details, section, schedule, something like that. That is a technical design. And production information, this is kind of a prefabrication project. It might not be applicable for the on-site things, but also it is applicable. Then you prepare a tender documents. Then you float the tender and price the tender and get the tender. Okay, then you award the contract. And after that, mobilize the project, start mobilizing on the site to start the work. And construction started and completed here, and post completion. So after the completion, the building will be used. So all the cycle of the building, all life cycle of the project is mentioned here. So this is according to the RIBA plan of work. So we come to RICS. What RICS talks about? So RICS is said order of cost. As I said that NRM1 is for order of cost. So from the beginning, order of cost is starting. So we have to use NRM1. Then it's come here. Then here is a bill of quantities. You need to prepare a bill of quantities. In this phase, you will use NRM2. That is what he said. You want to use the bill of quantities. For the to measure a bill of quantities, you need to use NRM2. To use the standard method to the bill of quantities, NRM2. Then NRM3, they did not specify here. That is what RICS, they just briefly said, according to RIBA plan of work, we are here. That is what they just want to specify. And this OGC, to be honest, I don't know the standard. Maybe it's used in USA. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, you can Google it and check it. But what they have done it here, uh, if you go to, if you go here, they say it here, OGC. What is the meaning of OGC? They give abbreviation. See that? Office of Government Commerce. It might be an entity of in UK. Here is OGC. A process of exam program, project, key decision points, their life cycle. So it's kind of entity. You don't need to spend much time on that. So after the this phase, they mention about the purpose of NRM2, and they said use of NRM2, how the NRM2 is structured. So NRM2, this book, how it is structured, as I see, have seen in uh, the previous table of content, part one. They say this is a part one. What content in the part one, and part two is what talks about the part two, and part three. What is about the part three? They explain it, and these are the symbols. Why I am explaining it by taking time here, you need to understand. But somebody said, what is NRM1, NRM2? Then you need to know that. As a QS, you must know nowadays is important things to know that about these all these standard documents is available. So, and the definition. Whenever you go to a contract, documents, BOQ, standard, or whatever it is, there should be a definition because these terminologies are new to everybody now. So you need to give some terminology. For example, bill of BOQ, you and me know about the bill of BOQ because we spend a lot of our time on the bill of quantities, no? So people who don't know about the construction, or like go to your father and mother, or like our fathers and mothers, they don't know what is BOQ. Then you have to explain it then. So that is the case. One thing they are explaining what is each and every terms is there. Then they use some keywords actually, not keywords. This is symbols. Like here, abbreviation they are using it now. So they will tell only this place what is BQ. They give you explanation here. If you go down further, you reading it, they will not mention bill of quantities. They will mention only BQ. So you need to understand what is BQ. It's kind of you preparing your report. When you are preparing RICS report, case studies, also we do the same thing. You, as an abbreviation, you have to explain it what is short term, and you'll explain it in the long term. Then when it's further you are writing the report, you don't need to tell that what is this again repeated, because your word counting is starting now, because here you say you have 3 words. Then you can finish it within 1 words here. So you are saving 2 words, because RIC is 1500, I guess. You have to write a lot of things there. I mean, I don't know, 1500 or 3000. I forget actually, honestly. You have to write many things. So you have to be a very saving person in the wording. Okay. Then what is the cost target, credits? This all you have to understand. What does it mean? Because I'll tell you one thing. Today, when I was preparing it today morning, I didn't know that what is the meaning of credit. First time I am seeing it, because I used in one BOQ in my previous life. Then now I forget. So I came to read the definition to understand what is a credit. I know what is a credit. We know, if you just go to the dictionary and put it there, we know credit. But why credit is here? That you need to understand. So these purposes, you use this definition things. Then we come to the part two. Very interesting thing, part two in this NRM. They talk about the purpose of bill of quantities, guys. This part two, and if you spend some time to read this document, you will gain lots of things. Okay, you will gain so many information here. As I said earlier, that they mentioned BQ. They didn't mention about the bill of quantities. Only the first sentence they mentioned here when they started. This is standard of writing. Yeah? When you're writing even your report or academic report, something like that. When you're starting first, for example, in part two, when you're starting part 2, in the part 2 you will mention is bill of quantities and BQ here. That's all. Then again when you go along, you just put it BQ, BQ, BQ. You don't need to write bill of quantities. Okay. So let's talk about the purpose of BOQ. It's very interesting. You have to read it. That I mean, I will not read it everything. The primary purpose of the bill of quantity, which comes a contract documents, are to provide a coordinated list of items together. They're identifying the description quantities. Okay, they said here the bill of quantities is just to give you a description quantities, put all the item together. It's kind of a scope of gathering the scope in one place. This is kind of like this. Then when the contract has been entered in, the contract has been entered into, provide the basis of the valuation. This they are talking about once we sign the contract. So this BOQ is giving for the valuation purposes. So it's given what is the purpose of the bill of quantities. It's very important. You have to read and understand. Benefit of the bill of quantities. What benefit? That is a different. Purposes mean what it's serving, what how it's helping you. Benefit mean what is the advantage you are getting from the BOQ. So read and understand. Okay, interesting here is types of bill of quantities. They said the use of bill of quantities in support the contractor is the traditional and proven means to secure the lump sum price for undertaking the building, and bill of quantities can be fixed, firm, it means fixed, okay, which means we said lump sum contract, fixed price, okay, fixed, firm price, fixed contract. That's a terminology. You will see it in condition of contract. If you go to some project, they will not just put firm, they will not just put fixed. There are two different meaning. I mean, this sentence have a different meaning. Firm price, fixed contract. Firm price mean the price is firm, no changes. For example, when you say concrete 1,250 dirham per cubic meter is firm, no changes on that. And fixed price lump sum contract mean the total amount after you putting concrete this price rate and this all, the final amount you will get end of the BOQ is a fixed lump sum. You no changes on that. That is what it means. Fixed firm price BOQ. Okay. Then approximate BOQ. This is what we call it remeasured contract. And the BOQ which used for the remeasured contract, that's called approximate because we don't know the final amount. So we said approximate type of contract. So that they said there are two different BOQs. Only there are fixed price or firm price BOQ and the approximate BOQ. Then they give you explanation what it is firm. Then they give you explanation what it is approximate. You can just go and read and understand. And the preparation of the BOQ. Okay, come along with that. Here is also we see an interesting thing. BOQ require for a lump sum contract based on firm or approximate quantities will normally be prepared by employer quantity surveyor or cost manager. What they saying here? Quantity bill of quantity is prepared by employer quantity surveyor or the I mean the quantity surveyor who work with the client or the cost manager. This is the terminology is used from UK. Whereas the design and build contract, the employer project team will prepare the design and build contract. The employer project team will prepare the employer's requirement and the BOQ. Something like we will study it in the procurement. But what I'm trying to show you here, they touch upon something here about this traditional lump sum contract, design and build contract, management contract, construction management. These all are comes under the procurement. Okay. So for that kind of contract, for example, traditional contract, they're telling you what kind of BOQ can be used. So they said in traditional contract, you can use firm BOQ or approximate BOQ. Okay. And design and build contract, you can go for any kind of BOQ as per employer requirement. But normally, be careful. Design and build contract, it will not go with the remeasurement work because it's a disaster. Because contractor is Contractor is doing a design now. So you ask him to do the design, and you said that whatever you do in the site, I will pay. He will do everything in the site. So whatever you do in the site, you have to pay for him. So don't give a control to the contractor to do the design. Let the employer to design and do the work in the site by the contractor. Then it's better to go for a remeasurement. But remeasurement with the design and build, not at all recommended, and it never go along with that. If some client is prefer, you have to tell them that Mr. Client is not possible. You cannot go remeasurement in a design and build. It is a disaster. It doesn't mean that it cannot go at all, but it's a disaster. We cannot control the cost of the project. And the management type, they said, okay, you can go ahead with the firm BOQ and the approximate BOQ. That's fine. Then composition of the bill of quantities. Here they mention that how the bill of quantities has to be built. What is the section 1, section 2, section 3, or what has to be included. Okay, interesting that they said first here form of tender. Form of tender mean what? The tender form, that final amount what you get from the summary, the contractor will carry forward to the form of tender. If you see the summary is mentioned, carry forward the amount to the form of tender. That we will study that when we are studying about the contracts. When you're preparing a contract document, what consists of the contract documents, you will see that form of tender. Then summary, that is what I said, that summary will goes to the form of tender. Then preliminary measured works. I'll come and tell you that what is measured works. Then risk, provisional sum, credits. Well, I told you about the credits earlier. What it is credits, I will explain you that. Then day works, if any annexes. Okay. So I think some of you are newly hearing about some terms here in the content of the bill of quantities. So this is not my standard. This is standard of RICS. What they said, you have to prepare a bill of quantities. In your package of bill of quantities should consist of these all documents. Sorry. So the first documents on top of the bill of quantities, or maybe end of the bill of quantities, you should put this form of tender. It's like a one-page document, which mentioning that this project is this much of amount, this much of durations, and stuff like that. So it's like a one paragraph talking about many things. I don't remember exactly what, but I mean I can show you in the next session, or maybe when we are seeing about the contracts, what the content of this form of tender. Then the summary of the bill of quantities also is coming end of the bill of quantities. No, that summary page, it's carrying everything: bill 1, bill 2, bill 3, bill 3, bill 4, bill 5, everything, and how much the amount. And you know about the preliminary. So in the bill of quantities, the first bill 1 is starting as a preliminaries. We are mentioning it, and the measured works. So you all know that what is measured works. That term normally as a profession we have to use it. Okay, as we are studying from the previous, the BOQ is categorized for temporary work and the permanent work. No, the permanent work. So this temporary work comes under this preliminaries. So the temporary work priced on the preliminary. The permanent works is priced under the measured works. For example, whatever the work is related to the permanent works, excavation, concrete, block work, MEP, everything, you are measuring now. You are measuring, you are putting the unit, meter cube, meter square, number, linear meter, whatever it is. So you are measuring. Those called as a measured works has to be come under the permanent works. We call it as a measured work. So when you are talking with the client, or when you're talking with the profession, when you're talking in an interview or whatever it is to the client, you have to talk professionally. That you have to tell that these all are measured works. Okay. And the one is in the preliminaries It's a preliminary, it's a temporary works. Then the risk. In our part of the world, this risk and provisional sum are considered risk, provisional sum, contingencies comes as a one item, as it is a contingencies, or mostly we put as a risk. Sorry, the provisional sum. We don't put as a risk, but there are something you have to understand the difference between provisional sum and risk. We will learn about it. If somebody is you can remind me later because that is a huge areas, but I will explain it later. And the credits, the one I said about the credits. So let me explain about the credits and the day works. You all know that. For example, in the project, you need to understand some rates from the contractor, rates only. That rate doesn't contribute to the total amount of the project. So only you want to get the rates. For example, labor, how much he needed in case of variation in future, how much he can charge for the labor. Because if you don't ask by the time he's pricing, during his working, maybe let's say after 2 years he's going to work. After he priced the BOQ, then after 2 years he's going to work. When you ask him after 2 years, give me the rate, he will come up with the huge heavy rate. For example, instead of 20 dirham, he will say 30 dirham. Then you don't have any option. You have to pay for it. So that is what during the tender itself, during the contract signing time itself, consultant is putting that 2-page documents, let the contractor to price the day work, how much for the labor, how much for the mason, how much for the steel fixture, how much for a shovel per hour, something like that. They get the rate and just keep it. Normally we don't use that rates, but they just keep it for a safety reason. In case any requirement in future, they can just take that rates and start pricing them. Okay, then I said credits. I'll explain you about the credits. What does it mean actually? Recently, we have done a project in Abu Dhabi. What is that actually? This project, they are going for a. They need to do a demolition of existing building. Okay, this is a huge building, like 25-story building. They want to demolish that building, not entirely demolishing, only internal partitions. So internally, they will demolish the building. They will make it as a shell and core. Then they need to build, because that old office, that old building has an office. So all the 25 floors are having office. So they made the partition in a way that to cater the office purpose. For example, this is the first, let's say second floor. Okay. The partition was, let's say like this only. And this is lobby. You have a lift here. And the partition is like this. So 3 open space areas. So now what the client says, I want to build a residential building here. I don't want any more the office building. So what is it? I need a demolition inside. Then I need to make a residence. So what we do, the contractor will come, he will keep only the core area. Core area means the shaft area, because the elevator and all these things stuffs is there, and this is a concrete wall. So he will demolish all these internal partitions. Then he will make a flat here. Okay. So when he's demolishing that, the existing equipments, okay, which is in a usable condition, or existing materials, which is in a usable conditions, can be reused by the contractor, or the contractor will demolish or take out from the building. Then he will go to the market outside and he can sell it. So those items to be priced also by the contractor. No? When he is pricing the tender, he need to price how much for the demolition, then how much for this items, this equipment, this material, which is a client assets. This is the assets of the client. Once he need to return it to the client, these assets, or he need to take himself, sell it in the market, take a money. So he take a money, he cannot go away with that. He need to put some profit, his profit, and he need to return the money to the client. So it is a credit to the client. So that is the item has to be considered as a credit. So if something is benefit you want to pay back to the client, he will price it here. So that is the meaning of credit. This was not mentioned in the POMI. It's mentioned in the NRM too. It's interestingly I noticed as well. This annexure. So this annexure is also is the new things. It's not the new things. It's added in the bill of quantities. Now we need to understand what is this annexure. Okay. So let's read together. Even for me, it's kind of new things. They said something you have to add in the BOQ called annexure as part of the BOQ item. So let's go and read what is annexure. So it's all mentioned here. Okay. What is measured item? What is risk? What is provisional sum? What is credit? You can read it here. The section in the bill of quantities comprises list of materials arising from the work which the employer requires the contractor to offer a credit. It's very clear. Then annexure. This annexure is what he said. The annexure comprises information referred to BOQ where is not contained in or to be issued as a separate document. So, which contractor has to consider in his price uh, during the pricing, but that is not mentioned in the BOQ. They will issue as an annexure. Okay, it's kind of you cannot put a line item for that in the BOQ. That is very difficult you to put a line item. So that has to be considered in annexure. They said examples, performance specifications, and the if not included in the project specification. So there is a project specification, and this performance specification is not mentioned in the project specification. So you can put part of this annexure. Copies of quotations and copies of communication with statutory undertakings, something like that. Because what he was telling it here, copies of quotation, very interesting thing here. Uh, what is the importance of this annexures? During one project, I remember that we have tender it out. I mean, I will give you a story, then you will understand. We tender it out with the 9 contracts. Okay. Then the project is ongoing. The contractors is pricing the project. Tender is going on. We receive a tender return from the contractors. Okay. During the design phase, as an architect, and I'm a specification specialist in the company, we already have a discussion with the supplier for that, but any materials. For example, flooring, wall finishes, ceiling finishes, painting, everything. We know the price because I made an estimation to the project now. So I know the price, how much per square meter of porcelain tile. I know how much per square meter of paint. We have a record. If we don't have a record, we will go to the supplier and ask, give me the quotation for tile. So what we did, we had around 9,000 square meter of okay porcelain tile in the project. Not 9,000, even 13,000. I remember 13,000 square meter of porcelain tile in the project. We know the price, how much the material is, which is cost is 40 dirham per square meter, the material price. So my expectation is 150, including supply and installation per square meter of this tile should be cost 150 150 dirham per square meter. So when I receive a quotation from 9 company, I got surprised. Somebody put 200, somebody put 250, somebody mentioned is 100 dirhams, somebody mentioned 180 dirhams. So we cannot control these people. So one option is you can go for a PC rate. Even you give a PC rate, and this suppliers, what these contractors, what they used to tell, no, I try to talk to this company, they are not giving me quotation and all these things stuff. So we got fed up with these people. What we did, we have a 9 company, we shortlisted to 3 company. So along with the revised BOQ, okay, along with the revised BOQ, under the annexes part, we put that quotation because I have a quotation from the supplier. So I put that quotation into the under the annexes part of the BOQ. Then I issue the revised BOQ to the 3 shortlisted company. So they know that now. They cannot take an excuse that this company didn't answer my call. I don't have a quotation. They have a quotation. What they have to do is they just go and put their supply and installation cost. That's all. Then we will not see much variance on the price. Everybody will price it. Someone will price 140, someone will price 160. Plus minus fluctuation is there, but we don't want to see 250 dirham per square meter. Then later during the execution, he will take the quotation, go to the supplier. I have you owe to me that you told me that you will supply with this 40 dirham, maybe even after 5 years, even after 2 years, he has to supply because he agreed to supply. So for that purpose, you can use these annexes. Also, they said here communication with the statutory undertaker. So in concern of the authorities, in authority you have a dealing with authority. There are so many documents along with the authorities. So you can put that also as part of the annexes. So all these documents to read and understand by the contractors during the pricing. So that is the purpose this annexes is using. Okay, so without wasting the time, we will move then the preliminaries. We spend a lot of time in the preliminaries and the measured rules and building. So we will not much. I mean, I don't see that there are, and you all know that overhead and profit. That is also is vast task. We will talk about it. I touched last time also what is overhead and profit. Then straight away we come to uh, that is important thing. You just read and understand this coding system and the BOQs, how you coding the bill of quantities. For example, is here uh, they talk about the coding. I mean how you coding it like a system. No, we have a coding system. So similarly in NRM also they are trying to introduce some coding system. But you spend some time on it to read it and understand. It's not a difficult one because every section have codings. For example, you'll understand here. Uh, okay, is here. This is preliminaries. We have very vast PhD study on the preliminaries. Okay, demolitions. Okay. Now here we go. We start offsite manufacturing. This is one of the item number two in RM. This number one now still is number one. You can see in 1.1, 1.19, 1.10, 1.11. This is all about the preliminaries. Number one is for the preliminaries, and number two is starting here is offsite manufacturing. Okay, offsite manufacturing in the sense it's kind of the things that you manufacture from outside, not in the site, outside, and you bring it and install it in the office or in the project. Can be a precast panel, it can be a prefabricated panels, it can be a prefabricated toilet. Sometimes these toilets and stuff like that, they fabricated outside, they bring it by container, then they will replace, they just place it, then they will fix it. So this kind of construction is going on nowadays. You have to be very careful. They said here, see, prefabricated structure. Okay, this kind of a precast panel we can see. This is measured by number. They said the roof, external walls, internal walls. It's like a floor, staircase, bridges, something like that. What are the items? And prefabricated building. As I said here, you can see clearly toilets, bathrooms. Nowadays, I see some construction that toilet they made it outside and they in finishing everything is done. They will just come and place it. It's easy. And cold rooms, spray booth, kiosk, soundproof rooms, something like that. These prefabricated units, prefabricated buildings. It's a building itself. No need to go for toilets and bathrooms and cold rooms. It's building itself is prefabricated in a factory. They just come and replace it. It's like in China, I think they did recently during Corona or something. They did in hospital. I think there was a YouTube channel. I mean, interesting. You can go and see. In 7 days or 14 days, they build like 2, 3 story building hospital. They use these technologies there. And the demolition, we not see that we don't use much on this. Also, you can see this demolition itself in under the site work of under the site work of section B. Okay. Under the site work of section B, in demolition and alteration is here. Okay. So NRM, what they did, demolition, they segregated separately. Okay. Then alteration is another one. So for me, NRM, for me, demolition and alteration is together. So you just need to understand that concept because we don't use much demolition things. Then in section B itself, for me, we have excavation. Okay. Earthwork. Excavation is here. Okay. Then if you come to NRM, number 5, excavation and filling. Then the filling is NR, and for me is different here. So they compile it together here, NRM 2, excavation and filling. See here, site clearance, excavation, disposal, filling, membranes. So all they put together. So fillings, disposal, excavations, the site clearance, site preparation. This they compile it together. Then they are mentioning it. For example, you just need to have an idea. For example, under the site clearance, they said removal of trees. Okay, and removing tree stumps. Removal of the tree. Okay, then you have a removal of the tree and removal of the stumps below the ground. Okay, so what they said, how do you read that? Site preparation, removing isolation trees. Okay, removing trees or removing tree stumps, they say this by number. Okay, that has to be differentiated with the girth of the, which is the diameter of the tree or the stumps. If it is 500 to 1500, this has to be one category of item. 1500 to 3000 another category. Okay, then over 3000 is another category. I mean, you guys can have a feeling that why they categorize it, because when the thickness is getting increased, you have to use a different equipment to cut off or remove it. No, so you cannot price it one price for 1500 diameter, and you have another tree with the 3000 diameter or girth. You cannot price it same price. For example, let's say one number of cutting a tree with the 500 girth, you put 1000 dirham. And also same another tree have a 3000 millimeter girth, you cannot put 1000 dirham because you need to put so much resources there. So that is what they said, they give a category. So you can have a different price for different girth. Okay, what they say that when you put the price for the removing or girth, sorry, removing the stumps of the tree or the tree, they say that what material you have to fill back, because when you remove the stump, you have to have a, you will see the excavation there, you will have a dig there, then you have to fill it. So in your description of the BOQ, you have to mention what materials you are going to fill it. Okay, this is the notes that you have to taking into consider that whenever you are reading an item, whenever you are measuring. What they said here, it is very important, this notes. Removing tree is deemed to include removing stump and roots and unless otherwise stated. But they said when we said in the bill of quantities, removing a tree along with the girth dimension and along with the filling material, what we said, it's mean you have to remove the tree and you have to remove the girth, the stump, and you have to remove the roots. Everything you have to remove it. You cannot, when I say remove the tree, you cannot just remove the tree and go without stumps and roots. So I'm a quantity surveyor who just put an item in a bill of quantities. According this BOQ is measured according to the NRM2. Okay. Then I just mentioned that removal of tree 500 millimeter the girth of the tree. That's one item. 500 millimeter girth tree to be removed and filled with the natural soil. That's all my description. I didn't tell that remove roots, remove girth, remove stump and everything. I didn't mention on the description of the BOQ. It doesn't mean that you will just price it only for the removal of tree and you go away with without stump and roots. No. If you are a QS, contractors QS who make an estimation, if the BOQ is measured according to the NRM 2, then you have to come back and see that what is the description is mentioned. So what I have to include it. You cannot ask a variation later. Then contractor consultant QS will come and say, Mr. QS from contractor, you come and read this. This mention is including the roots and stump. So you have to be careful. That is a QS duty. This is how you are saving the money to your client. So tree girths are measured and height. Okay, tree girths are measured at height of 1 meter above original ground level. Okay, this is one description. They said the tree height is measured above the ground level. Okay, stumps girths are measured at the top, which means you have a land here and your stumps are like this. They are telling that the girth of the stump is what you see on the ground level, not here, because nobody can see it here. What is the girth? Okay, so you go back to the tree and take the measurement on the bottom, open this and see that what is the diameter that has to be used, not here. Okay, this works is deemed to be include grubbing up roots, dispose of offsite and all material arising and filling the voids. So it's very clear. So this is the description. This is how you need to read the method of measurement. So this is NRM2 is talk about the removal of trees. Okay. Then when you come to for me, they said what? Removing isolated trees shall be enumerated. What they said, removing of a tree is counted. You have to count one by one, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. They didn't tell what should be the girth. They didn't tell what should be the girth of the stump. They didn't tell the removing roots or stumps, nothing. Removing hedges shall be measured by length. This is like hedges, this landscape companies, they know that what is hedges. And side clearing shall be included, removing vegetation underground and this. Okay. Now you see that removal of trees under the measurement of under measurement in for me and removal of trees under NRM. How much the information they had given here. This is how NRM is the key documents for a QS. It's covered everything. Okay, then we'll go another item, piling. I guess that we have seen the pile last time. Piling, 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 piling. Yes, piling generally, driven piles. Okay, guys, piling, under the piling, they said that there is a board pile, driven pile, interlocking piles, and vibro compaction pile. What they say that interlocking piles is measured by square meter, board piles and driven piles and other types of to be meter. I think I've given a clear idea about the piling last time, and you have to read this description along with uh, the notes here. Okay, I'll not spend much time on piling because last class we have seen about the piling and underpinning, diaphragm walls. This is very important. Diaphragm walls. I think this will not talk about the diaphragm walls here. They call board piling, sheet piling, paving, fencing, landscaping. Okay. I want to go to concrete. Yes, the concrete is here. So let's see the concrete is starting with, here is a B and concrete starting C here. Here the concrete is number 11. Okay. So what is mentioned about the concrete here? Concrete, they said generally reinforced poured concrete and plain concrete shall be so described. What does mean? There are two different concrete, no? reinforced concrete and mass concrete. That is what they said, reinforced poured concrete and the mass concrete, which is a plain concrete, shall be described. Mean you have to mention it. Reinforced concrete or plain concrete, you have to mention in your description. Poured concrete required be specified to be placed, compact, cured, and otherwise. This all they said in your description of the BOQ, you have to mention. It should be how it is placed and how it is compacted and what is a curing, cured, and otherwise whatever is treatment, you have to mention it. No deduction shall be made the void less than 1 meter cube. So this is another rules in general rules. Unless otherwise described, horizontal surface of concrete shall be understood to be damp. This is also about the horizontal surface of the concrete. Then they talk about the pouring concrete and how it is, unless otherwise stated that pour concrete shall be measured by volume. So here they said what is the unit of the concrete? It should be by volume. Which for the foundations, pile caps, blindings, beds, suspended slab, walls, column, beams, staircase, diaphragm walls and whatever it is. Okay. Then they measure the reinforcement separately. Reinforcement, the weight of the bar. So they say the reinforcement shall be measured by weight. Okay, by kilogram or tonnage, whatever it is. The weight of the bar reinforcement shall be net weight. Okay, net weight mean what? You build you let's say that you made a reinforcement casing for a piling. So net weight is what? The final weight, including you whatever it is a final weight. Addition for rolling margin supports a spacer bar, and spacer bars it comes not along with your bars now. It's coming you are putting in a spacer on the slab or whatever it is. So addition for rolling margin supports and spacer bar and tying wire. Bar reinforcement shall be weight stating the diameter, because when you are mentioning the weight, you have to state the diameter. What is the diameter? Okay, this is a different diameter. Fabrication reinforcement shall be measured by area, which is a mesh. The reinforcement mesh, it will be by area. Reinforcement shall be given as an item where the detailed design work is responsibility of the contractors. So they clearly mention that if the contractors is doing a design for the reinforcement design, the engineers doesn't do the design. So when the contractor is doing a design for the reinforcement, so a consultant QS, he cannot measure it. He don't know how much the weight of the bar. So he will put as an item. So that is what it's mentioned. So now we see about the concrete, how the NRM is talk about. Okay, NRM, they said mass concrete. Okay, it's in a meter cube. Mass concrete means it's a concrete, pure concrete itself, what you are getting from the batching plant. In any thickness, they say it is any thickness can be. Okay, it should be measured in the meter cube, which can be used for the purpose of filling voids or in terrace filling or any other situations. Okay, or against earth or unblind hardcore. It's kind of paving things, I guess. Okay, let's read it here. We will understand clearly more details. Mass concrete is any unreinforced bulk concrete not measured elsewhere. Okay, now it's you clearly understand now what they said here. This talk about the mass concrete, not the reinforcement concrete. So reinforcement concrete cannot be measured under this item. They said unreinforced bulk concrete, which is not measured anywhere in the BOQ, you have to measure it under this section. The volume of each type of mass concrete work may be aggregated or given separately. Okay, volume of each type of mass concrete, because I mean mass concrete you use it in a different places. So you have to be separately given. Okay, those, for example, somebody is filling between the voids. When you have a steps, For example, you have steps like this, okay? Then you have a ground like, so your step thickness is like 4 centimeter steps is going, but this avoid, what you will do, you have to fill it with something sand, somebody put mass concrete, somebody put polythene filling, something like that. So this is kind of a concrete they are talking about here. That is the mass concrete they talk about it. We will not spend on mass concrete. Let's go straight away to the reinforcement. Uh, Toweling, surface finishing is sensitive concrete, formwork. Okay, formwork, guys, and you can see that formwork is measured by the sides of the foundation is measured by meter. Edge of the horizontal work is by square meter. Sides of the horizontal is square meter. So you just read it along with this detail. You will get, if you guys are having any problems, you can let me know that we will have a session on it. Okay, now the reinforcement is mild steel, high yield steel bars. Is we call it R and T, no, which is measured by ton. Okay, then the bar can be straight bar, bent bar, curved, and links. Bar exceed a 12-meter long to be stated. The length of the bar, if it is exceeded 12-meter, you have to specify it. Then interesting, forming hooks, tying wires, spacers, cutting and bending is deemed included. Okay. Now what they said here, hooks, tying wires, spacers, cutting and bending of all this reinforcement is to be considered as included. So you cannot, when you're pricing the bill of quantity, you cannot measure separately for this spacer bar, cutting and bending, and this tying wires is because when you say huge project, tying wire itself will come as a 2-3 ton of cost, you know. So you cannot ask as a separately that this is only net weight of the bar. Okay, chairs, connectors are deemed to be included unless not at discretion of the contractor. This is also is another one. The chairs, you know that there is a chair bar will be coming, you know, here that you just place your bars. This is, we call it chair bars. Chairs and connectors, connecting bars and all these has to be deemed included unless it is measured somewhere in the BOQ. If not measured in the BOQ, you have to consider as included. Similarly, we see the mesh, reinforcement mesh is in square meter. You have to mention in the description of the BOQ weight per square meter, how much the weight per square meter of this reinforcement mesh. Because the structural design guys, they need to know about this information to consider the live load of the building. So that is important. Then this is about the concrete and reinforcement. Concrete, as you all know, that it is in cubic meter. You don't need to break your head on that. Here is also is concrete reinforcement shuttering. Shuttering, you know, when there is no magic on here. And the block walls, the masonry works. Also, you all know that you see sloping with walls and pillars and reinforcement. This is for the sills. See, if there is any reinforcement used in a block work, what they said here is measured under the section C. Reinforcement shall be measured in accordance with the C. They said it has to be measured in accordance with the C mean here. We seen here about the reinforcement, how it is. Block walls. This is about the precast concrete, and the block wall is here in square meter. Walls overall thickness to be stated, measured in a square meter. It can be brick wall, block wall, glass block, natural stone, cast stone, or whatever it is type. And this is the notes about the block wall. You can read and get some ideas. I mean, I don't want to spend time there. Structural metal works. For me, is most important. I need to tell you about the MEP things. Maybe you guys are, you can tell that I am not working in MEP. but you need to know about something about MEP. So let me go to MEP because we have to finish this. As a, I mean, for me, it's more important. You have to take some time, spare some time, and sit and understand about this NRM. NRM is very important things for you guys in your life. Okay, mechanical, they mention under 38 sections. Okay, uh, starting from here, they said primary equipments. Okay, primary equipments, they said by number. Then you don't know what is a primary equipment. Okay, then they said it is level 1 is system, level 2 is location of installation or roof, whatever it is to be specified. So you need to understand what is his primary equipment. So you come to the notes here. This notes is very, very important thing here. They said primary equipment is defined as plant or equipment from which a system originates. Example, boiler, main storage tank, air handling units, fan, stuff like that. So this is talk about the heating unit, which is a water heater in the building, storage tank in the building, AC unit, AHU, FAHU, FCU, chiller, whatever it is. All these are primary equipments. So these all equipments measured by numbers. Interestingly, NRM2 is not categorized based on the items. For example, we have drainage system, we have water supply system, we have firefighting system, we have HVAC system, we have LPG system, we have, for example, BMS system under the mechanical. So this NRM2 is not categorized based on the system, is categorized based on the materials that is used in the project. For example, here they said equipment, whatever it is equipment, use the equipments under the water supply system, use water heater. So that also to be considered under this primary equipment. We use HVAC unit, FCU, under the HVAC, also is to be considered under this primary section. So they categorize that whatever the equipments that you use under this mechanical has to be considered under this primary. Okay, that primary have one is system, for example, FCU. The next item is offload and position the primary equipment. So what does it mean? You bring the equipment to the site, you offload the equipment from the container and store it in the office or store it in your site store. That will be a separate item. Okay, this is purchase item, this is storing item, and this is another item called, it is also is measured on by number, assembled of composition items of the primary equipment. Okay, assembling. For example, if chiller is coming fragmented pieces, you will bring it to the store and you will assemble. You will take it to the, because the huge chiller taking fixed as a composite item to the roof, it may be difficult. You need heavy crane. So you take piece by piece to the roof, okay, piece by piece to the roof and install it, assemble it. That is considered as a separate item. Now what we do here normally, we put in the BOQ description, supply, okay, assemble, install, testing and commissioning of chiller, we say. So we consider in that description all these three items. But normally what NRME says, better to have a separate item for system, offloading and assembling. So that will be more accurate price. That is what NRM is encouraging you to keep as a separate item. Anyway, that is up sole discretion of the consultant to price it. Coming back to the POMI, they're having very interesting things here. They said pipe work and gutters, duct work, equipments, So that primary equipments came here under the equipments. Sanitary fittings, tanks, fans, pumps, hoods, air handling units enumerated. They said by number. Continuous converts or like shall be measured by length. Continuous converters or the like shall be measured by length. This is something item something like is continuing or any I mean continuous convectors. Uh, I don't use this item actually. I don't know what does it mean. Heat or ventilating ceiling, heated or ventilated ceiling, and the like shall be measured by area. Heated or ventilated ceilings. It's like a kind of heating, but now what you do that you have to put a grills and you have to put diffusers. I think this is talk about the diffusers. Diffusers coming by length. So they said measured by length. The grills, linear diffuser. This talk about the linear diffusers, I guess, and this is talk about the triangular or rectangular diffusers that will be measured by areas. So this is the only description they talk about the equipments, but it's here in NRM is very clear. Uh, they give more information about. Then the terminal equipment. The terminal equipment they said by number. Then you have to understand what is terminal equipment. So you can come and read it here. These are the terminal equipments. Terminal equipments and fittings are defined as any item to which the system is distributed. Okay, heat emitters, grills, fans, coils, and etc. So you have a AHU or you have a FCU that supply through the duct. Okay, then it's come to the diffusers. Okay, so this is what they are talking about here. Heat emitters. Heat emitter mean here we don't have a heat emitters, but in UK there is a heat. Like here we get AC, they have a heat supply. So that is what they said heat emitters. Here we don't want to put that. If we put that, people will kill you then. Then the grills and fans, stuff like that, it is the terminal equipment, not the primary equipments, not like AHUs, FCUs, and chillers and pumps and tanks. These are the things, like small things like grills, diffusers, fan coils units, something like that. That's coming under this terminal units. The same concept you will see it in electrical also. We'll see it in a minute. Sorry. Then they said about the pipe. They said common pipe. Here is it's mentioned about the pipes and gutters. No. Here is said pipe in meter. Material, finish, nominal diameter, method of joining and fixing, background fixing. Everything has to be mentioned. What is the material of the pipes? HVAC, PVC or HDPE or whatever it is. What is the finished materials? What is the nominal diameter of that pipe? What is the method of joining? It can be butt joint, what the traditional joining or using the joint. So many method of joining is there. So that has to be specified. And the location of the pipe should be mentioned on the description of the BOQ. Generally, all pipe to be measured inclusive all fittings. So here they said whatever it is fittings, bends, joints, or whatever it is to be included. Okay, they give example unions, connectors, plunge, bends, teeth, joints, and what everything has to be included when you're measuring the pipe. For example, one pipe is here, okay, and it goes like this. So here you use a bend, here you use a joint, then here you use the flange because of the different diameter. So they said that don't measure it separately, this whole stuff, just measure by linear meter. Okay, that's all. No need to talk about in between, you use many things. That is what the description is says here. Okay, that's about the pipe. Then here they mention, unless measured separately, all fittings are to be deemed included. So that is a description what we have seen here. And here they said, unless in the BOQ is mentioned somewhere, fittings has to be separately measured. You have to include it in the pipe length. And this is alternative pipe fittings. This is if anything is measured separately, that has to be considered here. This is the duct, ventilation duct. Interestingly, they did not mention what is the unit to be used for the duct. Normally, the duct is, if it is a GI duct, is measured by weight. he can see here ductwork. Okay, here. And for me, they said rectangular duct shall be measured by weight. Okay, because it is a GI duct. So metal has to be measured by weight based upon the area calculated as the length and tube taking along the center line of the overall fittings, including fittings and everything. For example, you have a duct like this. What they are telling, take the measurement through the center line and multiply it by the the duct sheet. For example, you just open the duct sheet, it will be like this, no? So take this width plus into this length, you will get the area. Then you multiply by the uh, what do you call density of the metal sheet, then you will get the weight. Okay. Then the fittings times girth nominal dimension, blank ends shall be added to the area of the weight, but not deducted, shall be measured. This in principle, what they said that uh, duct to be the metal duct should have to be measured by weight throughout the joint and connection, bend and everything. That is one thing. Then they said here circular, oval and flexible duct shall be measured by length taken along the center line of the fittings. Okay, so circular duct, flexible duct shall be measured by length, not by kilogram. Fittings to rectangular duct shall be understood to be included. Fittings to circular duct, oval duct shall be enumerated. For what they said here, fittings of circular duct or the oval duct shall be measured by number. Okay, so fittings of the oval duct and the circular duct shall be by number, it should not be included throughout the length. That is what they are trying to say here. Okay, so that is about the duct here. Then what here is interestingly, they did not specify what does it mean, because GI duct was using in the old technology. I'm guessing it, I don't know, I just need to do some investigation here. GI duct is used in old technology, but nowadays there is the duct called pre-insulated duct. Duct itself is already there, insulated. It's available in the market. You just bring it, just fix the board, okay, then tie it and join it and fix it on the building. So no need to go. That cannot be measured by uh, weight normally. That is like phenolic materials. That material calls phenolic, some insulated material. That is the one they are using it here. So that can be measured by area. So because of that confusion, I guess NRM doesn't specify that what unit to be used for your measurement. Okay, so that up to you that you how it is specified in your pricing preambles. So what they said here in general, generally duct to be measured inclusive all fittings, connectors, fittings, etc. So they said that here that all of your duct to be included all these fittings and duct ancillaries. If something is uh, cannot be price it, for example, along with the duct you have dampers like a VCD, volume control dampers, fire dampers, heating and cooling on the duct. These all are called duct ancillaries. That has to be by numbers. So that is what they said. When you see a duct, you will see many items, like a lever and all these things. No, these all are duct ancillaries. That has to be by numbers. Okay, that about the duct we have seen it, and fire stopping, identifications, testing and commissioning. That's not much important there. Mainly in MEP we have equipments, pipes and ducts. That is the main things in MEP. And also in electrical, when it comes to the electrical here, uh, it's very minimal, very common things here. Uh, Generally, that insulation of any auxiliary insulation shall be classified as a function given separately. Approximate insulation shall be measured in accordance with the relevant clause of the section. The reference here to the cable shall be understood, include tapes, bus bars, and trunking and everything. Guys, it's very important. It's according to the POMI. The reference here is to cables. When they say cable, the cable shall be understood So include tape, bus bar, trunking, okay, and the like. So when you say cables, joining tape or whatever it is, and hanging the cables and connecting the cables, everything to be included. You cannot measure separately. Reference here in conduits, when they say they are telling it, if there is a term called conduits, shall be understood included as a trunking, cable tray, ducting, or whatever it is. Whatever they mention here is conduits, which means trunking, cable tray, ducting, etc. So that is what they want to declare it here. Okay. Then when it's come, similarly, we see mechanical. In electrical also, there is a primary equipments, which is measured by number. So what is a primary equipment? Primary equipments defined as a plant or equipment from which system is originated, which is main switchboard, which is MDB we call it. Okay. Then we call it SMDB, control box, and like a generator, transformer. These all stuff coming under the primary equipment. And there is another one, terminal equipments, like we see in mechanical also. Terminal equipments, what are terminal equipments? Fittings are defined as an item which system distribute to the, which system distribution. For example, luminaries, switches, actuators, and stuff like that. Because if you see SMDB, okay, from the SMDB, sorry, this is MDB, we call it. Then this MDB and SMDB, this all are, let's say, in the panel. Then this coming to DB here. Okay. Then from the DB, there is a switch. Okay. Then there is a switch and there is a light. The primary equipment is covered here by numbers. Okay. Then these all are, they call it terminal units like DBs, switches, and lighting units. Okay. This they call it as a terminal units. So this terminal units also, they want to measure it by numbers. So they say terminal units by numbers, which has to be specified. Their capacities, load, rating, special fittings, casings, for example, switches having a casing, a different color, golden color, metallic color, stainless steel color, whatever it is. So that has to be specified also. And cable containment in meter. What is cable containment? You will understand here. Generally, cable containment to be measured inclusive all fittings, etc., like a junction box, connectors, flanges, bend, T-junction, reducers, whatever it is. This has to be measured by meter. Then cables, also by measured by meters. Cable termination joints by number. If it is a bigger cable, there will be a huge cost on it, no, for termination of the cables. For example, main building connection connecting to the government network grid system is kind of a cable termination to the government network. So there are huge costs is there. For example, they have to shut down and they have to connect it. There's so many processes there. So that can be a huge cost. So that they measure it separately, cable termination. I'm just giving an example. Okay. Then bus bar is here by meter. Modular wiring system. What you mean modular wiring system? Includes all containment not measured separately, junction box. Include fixing containment cables, cheese and surfaces suspended. Cable type, modular wiring. Okay. Modular wiring system is like a, it's like a wiring system is like prefabricated system. Some system is already done, like modular system. You come and fix it here, but normally I don't think that's happening here. Tapes. What does it mean, tapes? Include the connection joints, identifications, electrodes, earth rods by numbers. The earthing rods and lightning things is in by number. Fire stopping and other associated fire protector. by number. So it's very simple in NRM. Also same like mechanical, I said that they categorize by the item, not by the work. In electrical, you have many works now. For example, power, light, telephone system, uh, earthing system, lightning system. So many system is there now. So they don't go along with the system. They go along with the items. So here is also they said main circuit, which is the main distribution board. I said that. So what they said, the purpose of main define incoming supply to main distribution board, MDB, main distribution board. And again, this is sub main DB. This is SMDB, sub main distribution board, sub main distribution board. And again, it's coming other final circuits and also auxiliaries and insulation. This is switches and light points and DBs. So this is so if you're reading a POMI, this is MDB, SMDB. This is switches and DBs and lightings. So one thing I just need to tell you that in general, we have a MDB, okay, and we have SMDB, then it goes to DB, and we have switches, many switches, and we have sockets, okay, and we have many DBs also, and we have a light here, light. Okay, guys. Now, what we do, each light will have a switches, okay. Then the sockets, let's say 13 ampere sockets. Now, from this dB is only supplying to the this only supplying to the power socket, and this dB supplying power to the lights. And from here, this will come in this way, and from dB it's here. Okay, this is the way the wiring it works in the power. So when you say measurement of MdB, okay, when you price for MdB from where it is coming? From the grid system. The power is coming from the transformer or whatever it is. So cable in between grid system to the MdB is measured on the MdB item. Okay. So the cost of MdB when you price it, this including this cable. So the cost of SMDB when you're pricing it is cost including this, okay, the cables, the wires or whatever it is, cable or wire or whatever. So when you say dB, so this cost is included here. The cost of this wires coming from SMDB to dB is included under this dB price. This switches, okay, this switches is including both cases here sometime, okay, sometime this wires, also this wire. It depend on your BOQ description. If the BOQ description is mentioned wires, for the switches BOQ description, this only this, and also your same BOQ lighting description also is mentioned about the wire, so this wire, okay. So this depend on the BOQ description. If this switch also said about wiring, light also said about wiring, so you will measure it in this way. If lighting is not mentioned about the wiring, is only light fitting, so wiring should be together for the switch in the switching items. So switches, light fittings, dB, SMDBs are measured by number. So you should not be having any question that where I should measure the cable. So I explain you that how you measure the cable here. Cable is not measured by linear meter here in this case. If you want it to measure in linear meter, you can measure it in linear meter. But it is very difficult because small cables, maybe one coil cable is here is 5 gram. One coil you can put so much of do so much of wiring thing. So you don't need to You don't need to measure the wirings and cables separately. As I explain it here, this is how you measure the cables. But if the cable is if the cable is huge, for example, here, this cable will be huge cable. Sometime the BOQ will give the item for that because that cable diameter itself will come like, let's say, 240 millimeter square meter. So it's around 2.4 centimeter, or it will come 3 centimeter, 5 centimeter diameter cables. So that cable, we cannot ignore it. That cable itself is cost 60, 70, 100, 500 dirham per meter. So that has to be measured separately. But when it's come to the small wiring, small things, this all has to be measured under the associate item. Also, when you run the wiring will have a trunking, or wiring will have a ducking, or wiring will have a cable tray, or cable will have a tray. That if the tray is a bigger size, like 1 meter or half meter width, this has to be measured separately in the bill of quantities. If the tray is small and it is just a PVC conduits, this can be included in the wiring itself. That is also, again, it's depend on your BOQ description. BOQ description will mention it that supply installation of a switch gear, which means this item, including wiring to the light from DB, and also is including conduits, cable tray, trunking, testing and commissioning, and everything it's mean. So you don't need to measure the cable tray separately. It has to be included under this item only. But in case it's not mentioned, you have to be careful. You have to be careful and read it, price it in a separate. So that's how it works. I think this all I will give you. I will show you guys about the. I think I'm just give me a second. I'm getting call from the meeting. Guys, I'm getting call for the meeting. So we'll stop here today. We'll start from the next. I will just give you an explanation about the BOQ description, how it built from the FOMI or the session, sorry, NRM. Then we will moving to the pricing things. Okay. I'm gonna stop.